Let's show you how to go live on Twitch in under 5 minutes. Today you'll learn what software to use, what settings, how to capture your game, desktop and webcam, how to add a microphone, and of course, how to go live to Twitch with all of it. I will quickly say, if you're looking to learn the in-depth nitty-gritty or get a giant fancy overlay set up, check out the playlist in the description. This video is aimed to help beginners just get live in 5 minutes, so start the timer. It's already started? Oh, fuck. First, to go live, you'll need broadcasting software. The two major options are Streamlabs and OBS. Download OBS from the link in the description and install it. Once it's installed, open it and you'll be met with this blank box and these blank panels. It looks confusing, but don't worry, it's not. On the left is scenes, the middle are sources, and the right will display your audio. We'll come back to this in a second, so keep going to your right and click settings. Go to the streaming tab, go to service, go to drop down, click Twitch and log into your Twitch account. Next, go to the video tab. Here you'll set your resolution. Canvas is the resolution of the black box where we'll put our game later. Output is the resolution that will transmit to our viewers on the stream. The two most common are 1080p and 720p. If you have a decent PC, you can use 1080, likely no problem, so set both to that. But if not, set output to 720p. Below you have FPS. Higher doesn't mean better. Set this based on how much action and motion you'll have and how good your PC is. 60 for more action and a better PC, 30 for less and a worse PC. Now click output. These are where we control the settings you'll use for your stream. Keep this in the simple mode for now. Bitrate will determine most of your stream's quality. There is a link in the description to an article by Twitch to show you bitrate settings for different resolutions. Personally, if you're doing fast action gameplay, I recommend 720p output and between 4500 and 6000 bitrate. If the gameplay is slower and lacks a lot of movement, then 1080p and 6000 bitrate. Twitch bitrate is technically soft capped at 6000 and hard capped at 8000. 1000 bits is 1 megabit, so you need an upload speed that can handle the bitrate you set, plus some wiggle room. So for 6000 bitrate, you'll need around 10 to 12 megabits to stream at the soft cap safely. Check your speed, go to the speedtest.net, linked in the description, and just click the button that says test speed. Don't touch your audio bitrate at all. Then if you have a newer NVIDIA graphics card, you'll select NVENC H.264 here. If you can't use NVENC, then you'll probably end up using X.264, which means CPU encoding. Then encode a preset. If your PC can handle it, you can set this to the best quality. If not, a nice starting point is slow, and then lower it if you notice issues. To learn more about streaming settings or if you notice any lag or issues at all, there's a detailed video in the description. For now, we're getting you live in the easiest possible way, and this will work. Now click audio. Here you will add your microphone and the desktop capture that will capture all of the sounds from your computer, such as your game. So click mic auxiliary and then select your microphone. Next, click desktop audio and select whatever your default audio is. If you're not sure, go to your Windows audio settings, go to sound, and your output is your desktop capture and your input is your microphone. Usually. Below that is monitoring device. This should be your headphones or your speakers. If you need help with making your mic sound pro, link in the description is a video where I set up a $10 grocery store mic to sound pro. Click apply and you'll see your desktop and mic are now here in the audio section. Lowering this bar will lower the volume of your desktop sound or your mic. Aim for your mic to be around -12 near the top where it's yellow, and desktop should sit around -32. Now let's add your game capture or desktop capture and a webcam. Right click the scene and rename it to game. Now go down to your sources and click this plus here. You'll see 3 ways to capture your game. First is game capture. If you add that and then open it, it lets you either automatically capture games or pick a specific window to capture. Some games won't work with game capture, and in that case you'll use either desktop capture, which the name is quite obvious, it captures your entire desktop, so be careful not to show any private documents when using this, and then windowed capture. This is capturing a specific window, same as game capture, but it does any window you want. Once you've picked your capture type and you've captured a game, the source will appear in the source list. Now click the plus again, click video capture device, and select your webcam. You can adjust the webcam settings here. I have a full video, that's right, in the description if you want to make yours look better. If you click the webcam, you can drag it to be smaller and fit it off to the side of the screen like this, or hold Alt to drag and crop in the edges. From there, you can click start streaming and you'll go live connected to the Twitch account that we set up earlier. That said, I strongly encourage you to go to your Twitch channel, go to the top right, been easier. Anyone can do it, but not many people can do it right. Laggy footage, blurry footage, or just no sound at all. Today we're going to show you how to record game footage in OBS, as well as all the settings to make the quality amazing, crisp, and clear, to make both your microphone and your game sound perfect. But then I'm going to show you the most important thing you will learn, something massive gaming YouTubers do for every recording, and that is how to record both your gameplay and a webcam or camera at the same time inside OBS without burning the webcam over the top of the game. This gives you clean footage, meaning you can focus on one or the other, zoom in on either without issues, and make your edits far more engaging for viewers. Let's go. Obviously, to do all of this, you need to install OBS. So head to obsproject.com, I'll link it in the description, and download for your operating system. Click install once it's done, and you're ready to go. OBS is an incredible tool. You can use it to not just record games, but anything on your computer. You can stream with it, add graphics like these free overlays I made for you guys, or you can get much more professional, fully animated packs as well. So before we show you how to set up your video settings properly, let's show you how to enter the giveaway. Owned has given me dozens of vouchers to give out to you guys in the comments. These work alongside their global sale as well, which means anytime they put up a sale, you can grab pretty much any of their overlay packs, graphics, banners for your YouTube channel, you name it, for free or even just a few dollars. As I said, I'm giving them away in the comments. All you have to do to enter is comment #ownedgiveaway and then what graphics you'd buy. Maybe it's an overlay, maybe it's some sub badges, or maybe it's just a YouTube banner. Massive thank you to Owned for sponsoring this video. If you want to support me, please go and support them with the link in the description or by entering the giveaway in the comments. Now, let's get back to the video. Once you have OBS installed, you're going to open it and see this big black box. This is called a preview window. This is where your gameplay and graphics will be. But first, I want to set up your video settings. Now, I know a lot of videos just give you a bunch of specific settings and tell you to copy them without explaining in any detail why. And I hope you'll forgive me, but I hated my math teacher for doing this sort of thing to me. So I'm going to make this simple for beginners while also trying to make sure you don't leave this video with no idea what to change if something goes wrong. If you understand what you're changing and why, you'll be far more likely to get better footage and not hit massive snags and find yourself back at this video asking questions. So head to settings, click video, and first thing we're going to do is pick a resolution. Now personally, I always record at 1920 by 1080p on both my base canvas and my output canvas. The difference between these two settings is essentially base canvas is your preview window size and the output is what your final video size is going to be. The two main resolutions you'll pick between are 1920 by 1080 or 1280 by 720. These days 1080p tends to be standard, but if you're on a low-end computer, 720p might be a better option for you. So if you find your OBS struggling later, you can come back here and drop the output to 720, and that way you're scaling down 1080 to 720 for better quality, but it won't be so intense on your PC. Below that is our FPS or frames per second. You'll set this to either 30 or 60 most of the time. However, if you're say Australian like I am, or European, or another country that uses what's called PAL, you might want your FPS set to 25 or 50 depending on where you're sending the footage later. I'm in Australia and I still use 30 or 60 because it doesn't matter most of the time since everything just goes to YouTube these days. With that, we're moving on to our output. Personally, I used advanced mode, so I do recommend you do as well, so select that here in the output section. Since we're focused on recording today, we will click this tab that says recording, but if you want a guide on streaming settings, then please let me know in the comments and subscribe. I'll make that soon. Let's go down through the settings one at a time. First is recording path. This is where the recordings you make will be saved. I recommend making a folder called OBS recordings somewhere that you won't forget, and then setting this setting to that. Below that is recording format. The most common you'll know is MP4 or potentially MOV, but we're not going to record as either of those because if we did and your OBS or PC crashed, turned off, or generally stopped recording when you didn't want it to, the file would corrupt and be unusable, which means you might lose hours of work. So instead, we're going to be recording as MKV files, and don't worry, I'll show you how to convert those to MP4 files later without issue inside OBS, so you can edit them. Below that, we have our video encoder. This used to be so simple, but it's gotten more confusing as more graphics cards have become decent for content creation. Damn computer engineers and trying to improve our hardware for us. So look, I will try and keep it simple for you by focusing on just 3 of these. Today we're going to talk about NVENC H.264, X264, and AV1. To make this straightforward, if you're using any NVIDIA card past the GTX 600, which was released in 2012, so likely any NVIDIA card being used on a semi-new PC, you're going to pick NVENC H.264. This means you're using a special chip on your graphics card to encode footage. This chip is separate and just used solely for encoding and decoding, so it won't affect your gameplay performance at all. And if you're using a graphics card from before that or isn't compatible with NVENC, then you'll likely have to use X264, which will be using your CPU to encode and decode instead of your graphics card. Finally, AV1 is a newer encoder, and I will be honest, I'm still learning the best case for using it, and I'll link instead a video directly in the description by EPOSVox, who has done extensive testing on this kind of thing if you want a deep dive. Below that, you have audio tracks and encoder. I left this as FFmpeg AAC, but I did turn on all 6 audio tracks. This is very important because it means I could split my audio up so my mic and my game aren't burned in together in my footage later. Again, Very recommended. You'll see why later though. Now, depending on if you use NVENC or X264, you will need to use different settings below, specifically for bitrate mostly. A lot of people get bitrate confused because it's often talked about in relation to streaming on Twitch, which has a soft cap of 6,000. But bitrate, simply put, is the amount of information being saved or sent really. Higher bitrates mean more information or higher quality, but it also means it is more taxing on your computer resources. Because of Twitch, I see a lot of new creators record footage offline at 6,000 bitrate, except that is actually a really low bitrate for recording 1080p footage. Heck, it's even low for streaming, but Twitch just decided to soft cap it there and tell you all to get screwed. So let's set this up properly for recording. In the encoder settings, you have rate control. This will be set to CBR by default, which means you're recording at the same bitrate all the time. And below that is where you set the bitrate that you want to be recording at all the time. I found for 1080p 60 frames per second that recording at 15,000 to 18,000 bitrate gave me excellent quality for editing my gameplay footage down later. But any higher than that, I couldn't really tell a difference. That said, 8,000 to 9,000 bitrate did still give me usable and clean footage. So if your PC is struggling, start at 8,000 or 9,000 and slowly increase to increase your quality. The issue is though, because CBR means I'm recording the same bitrate the entire time, I end up with massive files and a lot of wasted data. I did it because Twitch preferred CBR and it just kind of stuck, but if you want to get a little more complicated in recording, instead I would recommend selecting CQP, which in short is smarter and will change the bitrate as needed so you're not wasting data. This does mean rather than setting a bitrate, you're setting a CQ level, which again, in short, a low number here means higher quality footage, but high numbers mean lower quality. I found recording at 15 gave me footage that was perfect and indistinguishable to viewers, so zero issues. But 20 will also give totally usable footage. So again, if your OBS can't handle 15, start at 20 and slowly lower it down by 1 until you find a nice balance. Below that, we have preset. A good starting place for this is to set it to good quality, but again, it's quite self-explanatory. Changing this up or down uses more or less computer resources, but of course changes quality slightly. Below that is tuning. I set mine to high quality, but again, that is more intensive, slower, but better footage. Now, multi-pass mode lets you tell OBS to do another pass on the encoding. A single pass means this is off, 2/4 res means it's better than single, and 2 full res is the highest. I don't think many of you will be able to distinguish a difference, so single is fine for most, especially on low-end PCs. I don't want to overcomplicate this for you. Finally, since you're using NVENC, leave on psychovisual tuning as NVIDIA recommends it. My CPU is set to 0 and my B-frame set to 2. I know that was a lot of detail, but hopefully you'll be able to follow my settings and understand how to change these if your PC is struggling. I'll show you how to diagnose if your settings are too high in a second, so stick around, but first, X264 CPU encoding settings are a bit different, so I want to highlight those quickly. If you change video encoder to X264 and scroll down to the encoder settings, you'll see CBR is the same, and it also works the same as previously explained. But instead of CQP, we have CRF. This, while being called different, works pretty much the same as CQP for a beginner, aka a lower number is better, but it's more intense on your computer. The other settings are very similar to NVENC as well. But if you're curious, I set mine to very fast and high, and then I adjust if needed. But wait, what does if needed actually mean? How can I tell if OBS is struggling? Well, the fastest way is to actually just record some gameplay and watch the footage back. You'll usually be able to see any issues you're having, but the best way is actually to use the OBS stats panel while recording. Click view and click stats. You'll get a lot of information such as CPU usage, storage space, current FPS, which are all helpful, but the 3 I want to focus on are dropped, skipped, and lagged frames. Most don't know the difference, but learning this will make life a lot easier for troubleshooting. If you're not streaming and just recording, then dropped frames won't happen. Dropped frames are when your internet or network are having connection or stability issues. So imagine you're sending your video over the internet through a big tube, but there's holes in the tube and frames keep leaking out. Next is lagged frames, seen here, and these are caused by high GPU usage, which means to solve these, you need to free up room on your GPU by lowering your resolution, general video settings, or other encoding settings a bit, as I showed you earlier. Below that is skip frames, which are caused by high CPU usage, and again, lowering your resolution, your general video settings, other encoder settings, or if possible, switch to NVENC to utilize your GPU more and give your CPU room to breathe. But with all of that, congratulations, the hard part is over. Now it is smooth sailing. If you tried to record gameplay right now, you'd get a big black screen with no audio, and I'm sure there is an audience for that, but it's probably pretty niche, so let's add our audio settings now. Click settings, go to audio, and you'll be met with 6 global audio devices. If you're using a microphone and want to record your voice while gaming, you'll click Mic Aux Audio 1 and select your microphone from the list. Then for all other PC audio, such as games, Spotify, music, etc., you'll click Desktop Audio and set this to your default Windows system audio. For me, that is my system Bridgecast, but for you, it might be called headphones, speakers, or something else. To confirm it, you can go to the Windows settings, and whatever the output is here you use normally will likely work, or just set it to default. Once you've added both of these, click apply and then go down to the audio mixer dock. Click the 3 dots and click vertical layout. This is really important because only freaks and sickos use horizontal levels. Now I want you to click the ... again and rename mic aux to microphone and desktop to gaming. This is just to make it a bit neater. While recording later, you can use these sliders to change how loud your voice and games are recorded. The goal is for voice to reach roughly -12 dB and the game should sit around -30 to -24. It's important to understand that all audio on your PC will be picked up on desktop audio. So if you're recording your game and watching Netflix, well, now you've got Netflix audio in the recording and everyone knows you love watching The Good Doctor. This is a really simple audio setup, but it's just to get you started. If you want a detailed video on how to split audio sources, well, that will be linked in the description because it's far more complex. Before we move on though, click the 3 dots again and click Advanced Audio Properties. Over on the right, you will see tracks and a heap of checkboxes. Earlier in the settings, we turned on all 6 tracks for recording, remember? And I said how important it was? I'd recommend turning off everything to start with. And now if you're streaming, normally everything is set to track 1 because that's what your stream will hear. But for recording, you can split these up. I will set everything to track 1 just for safety, but then I will set my microphone to track 2 and my game to track 3. This means if I take my footage into editing software later, my game and microphone are separate so I can edit them individually. If we didn't do this and I wanted to make my game louder or quieter, well, I'd be affecting my voice as well. Again, you can split this all up further, such as recording Discord on its own track as well, with the video in the description. But with our audio added, it's time to capture your game, and then I will show you my literal magic settings to record clean gameplay and camera in the same file. First, in OBS on the left, you'll have a scene, and then right next to it is the sources dock. We're adding a source to this dock that captures your game. So click the plus, and you're met with a list of potential sources. Your eye probably went straight to game capture, which we can use, but there are actually 3 options that are used for 3 different things. If we add game capture and double click it, you'll see mode. Most leave this on full screen application, but I prefer changing this to capture specific window and then selecting my game under that. I leave on anti-cheat, but something people often forget is your capture cursor. Turn this on or off if you want your mouse in the recording. And that is all you need for game capture, but sometimes OBS won't recognize or let you capture certain games. In these cases, you'll use window, or if it's really dire, desktop capture. Window capture works the exact same as game. You pick your window and you're done. But again, if game capture and window capture aren't working, well, then you can use desktop capture. Just please be very careful doing this, as it captures obviously the entire desktop, your entire monitor that you select, including if you minimize or alt tab the game, you can reveal your desktop and all those homework folders you're hiding from your mum. But with that done, what if you want to record your webcam as well so people can see your reactions to getting that sick triple collateral on Dust? Well, click the plus, add camera source, and select your webcam. Ta-da! Now, if you recorded this, you'd be burning this camera in over the footage. You can't remove it easily later. And while you might be fine with that, I personally hate it, so instead, let me show you a trick giant YouTubers use every day. Go to profile at the top and click duplicate. Name this wide recording. Now in your settings, you'll see everything should still be the same, but we're going to change a few things. First, we're going to go to video and change our resolution to be double the width. So 1920 by 1080 becomes 3840 by 1080, or 1280 by 720 becomes 2560 by 720. Hit apply and go to output recording settings. Now, if you're using CBR to keep your settings simple, then you'll need to double, or potentially depending on the game, if it's really high movement, increase your bitrate by 2.5 times. So for example, if I was using 8000 bitrate, I would go to either 16,000 or 20,000. And if you're using CQP or CRF, you'll drop this down a little lower, but I found 15 still gave me pretty great quality. Obviously, remember, increasing bitrate and resolution like this will increase the load on your PC, so this might not work for a low-end computer. But for now, once that's done, hit apply. Go back to your source list and make sure your game is full screen on the left and your camera is full screen on the right with no overlap. This means we now have essentially 2 1920 by 1080p sections on our screen being recorded at the same time. So start recording as normal. Once you're done, stop recording, but wait, that's right, this file is weird, long, and it's also an MKV. So how do I edit any of this? Well, first, go to File in OBS, Remux, select the file you recorded, and click Remux. This converts it from an MKV to an MP4, because remember, MKV is great to avoid corrupt files, but it's terrible for editing. Open your editor of choice, I love Premiere Pro, and drag the MP4 file in. This will create a timeline that matches its settings, which isn't what we want. So right-click the sequence, click settings, and change your resolution from the big wide weird one down to 1920 by 1080, or if you're using 720, down to 720. Now select your clip in the timeline and drag the file over so the game is covering the full screen, copy it, layer it on top, and then drag the top one over so the cam is full screen, as a valuable video on YouTube. I'll see you guys next week. Installing OBS can be confusing, and streaming isn't meant to be confusing. It is meant to be fun, right? Today, you'll go from having nothing set up to having this awesome overlay set up and understanding how to customize and control every single thing you want, including the dreaded audio. When you first install OBS, you'll most likely either have a blank slate, or maybe you've already played around a bit, or even installed a template overlay from a website. For this, I want you to start with a blank slate. So come to the top of OBS, click this little drop down that says Scene Collection, and click New. Once it opens, name this one whatever you want. I'm going to name mine today Subscribe. This will add a new blank setup. If you want to swap back, go to the same process you did, but don't click on New, and instead click on the overlay in your list. Don't worry, everything I've done so far hasn't deleted all your work. Okay, let's give you a quick tour of OBS, and yes, don't worry, I'll deep dive into everything, but first you need to know your way around. In the middle, you have your display window. This is what you'd be broadcasting to Twitch if you were live right now. But right now, it's blank, obviously. Unlike other tools such as Streamlabs or Twitch Studio, OBS doesn't come with event lists, so you can't see your new follows or new subscribes, or a chat window even, so you can't even see your chatters. But don't worry, we'll set both of these up later as docs, and they'll be on your left and right, just like any other tool. Below that, we have 4 boxes. On the far left, we have scenes. You'll set up different scenes for different reasons. For example, you'll need a scene for gaming, a scene to say you're going to be right back, or a scene for just chatting to your viewers. If we had those 3 scenes set up and clicked between them, then we would be transitioning. More on that later. In the middle, we have sources. These are the assets you have added to the scene you have selected. On the right, we have the mixer. These are your audio sources that will be transmitted out, and you can control and edit your audio from here. Further to the right, we also have our scene transition controller. This lets you set up stingers and animations for transitioning between scenes. And then on the far right, you have controls. This lets you start stream, start recordings, turn on studio mode, and of course, open your settings. And that is really everything you need right now for getting set up. The rest will be covered throughout the video, but I will quickly mention if you're wanting to learn about streaming settings in particular and how to avoid laggy streams, well, there is a playlist in the description that has a video about fixing laggy streams and making sure your stream settings are crystal clear. So I will show you how to install alerts, chat widgets, and fix your audio in only a few seconds, but first, let's cover the basics. On the left, we have scenes, as I said. You'll make your scene for different purposes. For example, you'll make a game scene. So we right click and name game scene. Now, I might be setting up a gaming scene, but I'll cover everything you need to know to build any scene you want. Think of this as building blocks. In the middle, we have sources. Sources are, again, all of your media that are in the scene you currently have selected. Right now, it's empty, but if we click this plus sign at the bottom, we can add sources such as game capture, which you'll need if you're trying to capture a game in your gaming scene. If you don't have a game open, it will be blank for now, but don't worry about it. And also, it's important to remember that not every game will be captured in this. Some games need window or display capture to actually be captured, so you might have to try different options. But anything you want to add to a scene, you'll do it with this plus sign. That could be video graphics, or it could be still images, or it could be any of the dozens of widgets you'll add with browser sources. For example, we also want alerts. So if someone follows while you're live, an alert plays on screen. Unlike Streamlabs, OBS doesn't come with alerts, but with Twitch alerts, you can set these up in 10 clicks. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use Stream Elements. For Twitch alerts, head to your Twitch dashboard, click Alerts, create Alert Box, name it, click Edit Alerts, and then in the bottom right, copy this browser source URL. Come back to OBS, click the plus, click Browser, name it Alerts, and then paste the copied URL I showed you into the URL box. Click Save, and now if you click Send Test Alert, you'll see you have all the default Twitch alerts set up. There's a full video in the description on customizing these alerts. For now, that's the basics. Let's move on. Your game scene will probably also need a webcam, maybe some support bars for your latest follower or latest subscriber, and potentially you'll also want your chat on screen. First, let's start with the webcam. Let's click the plus again and click Video Capture Device. We'll then select our webcam and then resize it down by clicking the corner and dragging it down. Now, the source list isn't a random order, it's actually layers. Imagine the bottom layer is behind everything else. So if I drag my webcam below my game capture, it is hidden. If you can't see a source, it's worth considering whether or not it's placed in the right section of your list. Now, I want to add my support bars that the name of my latest follower will appear in. So I would click the plus, and I can either click image if my support bar graphic isn't animated, or I can click media source if it is an animation a video file. All of the graphics I use in today's video are available for free for download from the Discord server linked in the description. I think we have about 3 to 4 dozen fully animated overlays in there now, just for free, so you can have those if you want. My support bars are animated, so I click media source. I'll find my animated bars file on my computer, and I will add them in here. Since they are animated, I also need to make sure I double click my support bar layer so the settings open, and then I'll click loop, or else it will stop playing after the animation finishes. Any animation you want to keep playing forever needs loop turned on. This process is also how you can import a frame for your webcam or really any other graphic. But first, we want to add our follower name to our support bars. The issue is OBS doesn't come with label widgets built in, making it a little bit tricky. Instead, you'll have to use Stream Elements to add these. Don't worry, it's actually really simple once you do it once. So you'll head to streamelements.com, you'll log in and connect your Twitch or YouTube account if you're streaming there. Click Streaming Tools on the left at your dashboard and click New Overlay. Set your overlay's resolution to the same size as your OBS. If you don't know what that is, you can check this in the settings, video, and it's the base canvas. So for us, it's 1080p. You're going to click the plus and click Add Static/Custom. Click Video, and then in the top right, click Change Video. Upload, and you'll upload your support bar file from your computer. The reason we are adding this support bar graphic again, but now on Stream Elements, is because it will be far easier for us to add the label to fit the bar if we do it all in one place, rather than adding a label to elements and then trying to make it fit in OBS. Click the plus sign again, click Labels, Follower, Latest Follower, and you'll see it's been dropped in here. But then if you click it, you'll be able to edit what it says up here in the top left. You can change the font, you can change the size of the font, you name it, you can do it here. Our overlays actually come with custom fonts that match the design. So for example, this is the paint splatter pack. So I'll set this to blow brush so it looks a bit like it's someone spray painted. I'm going to turn on dynamic font size so I can resize it onto the bar, and I'll add a little drop shadow to it. Now, I know I went through that a bit quick, but stream labels are simple to add and really powerful. Even just opening the dropdown, you can see dozens of other types of labels. And if you want, in the playlist link in the description, I have a stream labels tutorial that covers everything you need in about 9 to 10 minutes. This video would go on far too long if I did a deep dive into labels now, so instead I'm showing you the basics so you can get going, and the other video can help you become a pro later. Once you've positioned your label and you're happy with it, you'll click save, you'll name it, and then click this little chain to copy the URL. Head back to OBS, hit the plus, select the browser source, and paste this in just like you did last time. But extra step, change the width and height to match what you set your canvas resolution and overlay resolution. So remember, mine was 1080p, so I'll set this to 1920 by 1080p. For you, make sure it just simply matches your base canvas. Now, what if I don't like where my bars have fallen naturally and I want to move them all to the bottom of the screen? Well, I can. I just click and drag that source all the way down and it moves everything because I'm simply moving the Stream Elements overlay I made and imported. But LJ, now we're left with 2 support bars. Don't worry, I did that on purpose so I could show you guys how to delete a source. If you go down to your source list, click it and click delete. But if I want to move my webcam and its frame that goes around it, I can click and drag each one individually to move them. But a much easier and neater way is to select both my graphics and hit the plus button, then add a group source and drag all the sources into one folder named webcam. I can then click the group and move that around and it will move everything inside it. Now we do hit a snag. We have about 3 to 4 support bars on our screen, and yeah, you could use these other bars for things like new donation labels or new sub labels, but if you want to get rid of them or crop anything inside OBS, you can just by clicking on the source, holding down Alt, and then dragging it to resize from the vertical or horizontal boxes. Personally though, I will say if we're resizing or cropping sources that come from Stream Elements first, I prefer to simply crop and resize it there on their overlay editor, because then it loses less quality when scaling it up inside OBS. This whole drag also works with every other source, and specifically when it comes to resizing your camera. Sometimes you want a square camera inside your game to block less of the gameplay. So if we import this square webcam frame that comes optional with all of our overlays and lay it over our webcam, we can then hold Alt and we can drag the camera source to be a square and it will fit inside the box nicely. Last step of our game scene, let's add chat to your screen. You'll need to head back to Stream Elements and follow the same process as earlier and make a new overlay. You don't want your support bars and chat in the same overlay. Once you have your new overlay, hit the plus sign and click Stream Tools, then click the chat. It'll add the default chat box most likely, and it doesn't look great. So at the top left of the properties, you can change the height and width to change the size of the box, but also it has some presets of chat styles. Personally, I prefer setting it to custom so I can remove the hard background. And then if you click text settings, you can change the font, add drop shadows, and, well, really anything you want. Once we're done, we'll copy the browser source and then paste it as our new browser source in OBS. And just like earlier, we're going to make sure that the browser source matches the resolution of the overlay resolution that we set. And now let's put this box below our camera and our followers. Type something in Twitch chat for the tests and make sure it is below your camera in the source list. So now that it scrolls up, it'll go under your camera nicely. It just looks nice and smooth this way. Congratulations, you have a game scene set up. Now let's go back to our scene list and make a just chatting scene. We hit the plus on the scene list and name it just chatting, and with that, all our work is gone. Oh my god, what have we done? Just kidding, it isn't actually gone. It's just in another scene. If you click the game scene, it will transition back to that one we just set up. Now, you might not want to transition every time you select a new scene, so what do? Well, you click on studio mode on the bottom right, and now when I click game scene, it shows me the game scene on the left, and I can click transition, and it moves to the right. What is shown on the right is being broadcasted out, and what is showing on the left is the preview of the scene that you're looking at transitioning to. You can go ahead and set up your just chatting scenes however you want. It is the same process as your game scene. Just hit the plus and insert the source that you're trying to add. For me, I recommend adding your webcam as a full screen or at least quite large. You can add your chat to one of the sides, and don't forget to add your alert box as well so you can hear what people follow in this scene. You can just copy and paste most of this from the game scene and then resize it, but if you want chat, alerts, or other browser sources to look and be different between scenes, well then you need to set up a new overlay on Elements or Twitch alerts and then add the new browser source. It's the same process as I showed you earlier though, but you can see the difference here. My game scene, my chat is small and fits under my camera, but in my just chatting scene, it's really large. These are two different resolutions and two different sources from Elements. You'll see on my chatting, I decided to make my camera full screen and put the chat largely on the side with my alerts in the bottom of the other corner. I just find this is a really nice default just chatting setup, and I do recommend it for everyone. Once you have that, let's add some polish to our transitions between your scenes. So let's quickly add an animation to this transition rather than this weird fade. Head to the scene transition section in the bottom right, click the plus, change it to Stinger, and now you want to find the Stinger file on your computer. Remember, every graphic in today's video is downloadable in the StreamScene Discord, so once you find it, import your video file, make sure you use a WebM for the video Stinger, change this from time to frame, and then set the transition point to 30. This is what fits the animation I am using, but you can adjust when the transition point is, moving it further or back until it fits yours. Then hit done, and make sure this drop down menu says Stinger, hit done, and click between your two scenes. Ta-da! You've got a new transition. This is the global transition, so that means it will play every time you change scenes, but if you wanted, you can add custom rules for this transition. If we click on just chatting, right click, transition override, and click cut, now if we click to transition, it will play the global stinger, but if we click back, it will hard cut to the scene we just set to the override. Look, this gets overly complicated fast, and if you are in need of multiple transitions for different scenes, I don't recommend using the override. I recommend a plugin called Transition Table. For now, I prefer using just one stinger and one hard cut, depending on which scene I'm going to, so we don't overcomplicate it. Plus, I also have a video where I show off literally 50 plus free animated stingers and how to get even more custom with your stingers. It's in the playlist linked in the description, and they're all downloadable, again, from the StreamScene Discord. Now, before we move on to audio, maybe you didn't want to set every source up by hand. Maybe we just want to set up a template overlay, and then use everything I just taught you to customize it. Well, sadly with OBS, there is no simple way to do this. You'll need to make a series of scenes and then install all of the sources by hand as I've shown you. The best I can offer is the fact that we have about 3 dozen fully animated overlays in the StreamScene Discord. So at the very least, you can take those and build an overlay you love with all these modular animations. Everything you've learned so far, though, is the building blocks to becoming a pro at OBS. If you can do everything I showed you, then you can build an entire overlay if you're patient and take it one step at a time. Plus, if you need further help with our overlays, an install guide is linked in the playlist, and we have a list of frequently asked questions in the Discord as well, and about 8 volunteers to help out and get you set up. Okay, let's cover the mixer over here on the right. Let's select our game scene. Now on the right, you'll see that your audio sources are anything that you have in that scene. This could be media.
Alright guys, we're basically at the end of my day for the first day of the Raid the Bank series. Now this account, in case you don't